I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about no doc funding the way that I'm about to explain it to you in this video. So if you have no idea what no doc funding is, this really took its craze, I'd say right around, gosh, 2021, 2022, even 2023, where people were essentially saying that you can get access to business credit without having to present any financials, tax returns. And it took the internet by storm. I mean, people were like going in, applying for credit cards, applying for business lines of credit, and thinking that that's just how things operated. Well, I'm going to tell you that at one point, it was a lot easier to get access to no doc funding compared to where the economy is right now with everything happening. And so I wanted to create for you this simple graph that if you understand what I'm about to break down for you, it's going to make your life a heck of a lot easier so that you can identify if you can actually get access to what's called no doc funding. And if so, what you actually need to have in place so that you can get access to those type of products. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is that, like anything else, there is a pro and a con to anything that we do. It's no different with no doc funding. Now you can think, Irv, I mean, what the heck is a con to no doc funding? I don't have to present any tax returns. I don't have to present any type of financial statements, any profit and loss. That's a win-win to me. Yes, but at scale, it's really difficult to sustain. Here's what I mean by that. You're only going to get access to, let's say, 25K worth of products at any given moment using no doc funding. Now, could it get you off the ground initially? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I consider this a bit more for a starter friendly type of person or a business owner. But when you're looking to really scale your business and your operations, you want to start flexing your cash flow. You want to start flexing your credit profile, both on the personal and the business front. And you also want to start flexing your tax returns. That's why you're starting to see more and more banks ask for things like bank statements and obviously tax transcripts. But I digress. When you're looking to set yourself up, again, if you're looking to get access to that first, I'd say 75 to right around 150K, 200 if you're really pressing it of no doc funding, then this is what you want to pay attention to. You have the business owner, or you have the business's profile. This is going to be the structure of the business. So in this case, we're going to use LLC just to keep it super simple. You want to have the address of that entity established on its own. Can you use, and is there a case where you can use a home address? Absolutely. I've helped clients do that before. I prefer to have some type of separation though. So if I am going to use a home address, I want to be sure that we have an actual space that we're working out of that's carved out for that business. And obviously for tax reasons and legal purposes. But you can also use a virtual office address, which it's essentially you're renting out the address for a physical location. None of this cheap stuff that you see out there, by the way. I'm talking about real addresses that you can drive into and you can collect mail. You can actually work out of. You can do a virtual office address. You can also use a brick and mortar. The next thing that you want to have in place is going to be a site for the business. I'm actually starting to see this more and more now. And I know that's something that we've always harped on with our clients is having your own website set up. Not the way that you're probably seeing it online though, which is people saying, hey, just have any website set up and just go present that to a business banker. No. I'm talking about a website that has all your data congruent to what you're actually presenting. I can't tell you how many times I'll be auditing a file for a client and they'll say, hey, Irv, let me show you my website. Okay, cool. Let's see it. And the website has nothing to do with what they actually do for work, where the business is actually located. It looks like they just got it off of one of these third-party companies or they paid someone just to have a copy and paste template thrown out there. That's going to be one of the biggest red flags. And so take the extra step, go the extra mile, and make sure that your name is actually in the website. Make sure that the address that you use, whether it's virtual or home address, like whatever it is that you want to use, it's on the website. Make sure that it's a viable phone number that's being used. It's a viable business email that's being used. And the last thing that I want to mention about the business profile is at the bureau level. I'm actually going to run out of room here, but I'll just go ahead and just summarize or abbreviate it, I should say. At the bureau level, you may not have business credit just yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't at least register your business so that all the data that you've set up for your business, from the name, the address, the phone number, the email, the industry classification, it all points back to the business credit bureaus, because this right here is going to be one of the first slots that banks are going to pull from to make sure that the data is actually congruent and telling a story. The owner profile is anyone who has over 25% or more of ownership inside of the company is typically going to personally guarantee the debt, meaning you're going to co-sign on behalf of your business so that you can get access to the capital that it needs. Now, when it comes to the owner profile, I always recommend you want to have one of one. Here's what that means. You want to have one address on your personal credit profile. You want to have one phone number on your personal credit profile. You want to have one name on your personal credit profile. And this needs to go across all three of the personal credit bureaus. Here's why. We were working with a client who everything that they needed was dialed in on the business side. They had everything. They had the LLC, the address, operator agreements. They had the website. They had the email. Like, this person went all in. I said, okay, I love it. I applaud you. But when they kept trying to go back in to get access to business credit lines, guess what kept coming up as a high risk? Them, the business owner. And I know that you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I thought that you can only be considered a high risk if I'm in a high risk industry like trucking, or if I'm in a high risk industry like real estate. No, business owners also get considered high risk because of a couple factors, but I'll give you two. How they've managed debt in the past on the personal side, and also if there's too many incongruencies in how their personal profile is set up. A common example that I typically use is if you recently got married and you changed your last name, go back in and make sure that that name change, especially if you took it to the court already, it's all updated across all your credit cards, all your financials, all of your legal documents, your passports, everything. It's no different with the personal credit bureaus, because again, it's what's going to be pulled. Now, moving into the banks, and this is like the last piece that I look at, even though most people think, well, if I just had access to the right list of places, the right banks, that I can get access to business capital. Yes and no, if these two aren't first dialed in. But I'm going to give you really, I'd say two, if not three things that I look at when we're dealing with banks, which is location of the bank, the appetite of that bank. I'm running out of space here. The appetite of that bank. And then I would say that the last thing that we look at is selection. Then don't worry, I'm going to break all this down for us. You just wait right there. The banks. This is the last place that we look at when we're helping a client. This is the last place that I will look at if I have an LLC. Here's why. Once I have my business profile dialed in, once I have my owner profile dialed in, my credit is in the 700s, which I should probably put that here, right? That's going to be a big piece because you're personally guaranteeing this stuff anyways. The location of the bank or the financial institution, you can also use this interchangeably with a credit union, is a geo-restricted one, meaning some banks and financial institutions aren't going to want to work with you if you're outside of like 25, 30, 40 mile radius. So that's one thing to consider when you're doing this. You're typically only seeing that though with credit unions or smaller banks. With the big banks, as long as you're in the state, you're good to go. The appetite's a big one though, because you can have a low risk profile on the owner side, a beautifully set up and structured LLC, but then the appetite of that bank simply says, hey, we don't want to work with your industry. At that point, it doesn't matter how good your profile is. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business, how much cash is coming in. At that point, you just flat out have to look at another financial institution. That's why I said leave this piece for last, because it's as simple as finding out who actually wants to partner with your business and then just taking your business there, right? That's how we want to operate, and that's how we want to work around that. And then lastly is the product selection. We were working with another business owner, and they needed about 175K worth of business capital, but they had been contacting all these like done for you / credit stacking programs that I'm sure you've seen out there all over the internet, all over Facebook, Meta, like all of it, right? The problem with that is, which is what they told me before they brought us on, is Irv, I don't just need 0% business credit cards. Like, I need real cash value stuff that I can move in and out of deals from, meaning I can use it as a down payment, and I don't want to liquidate because I know the ramifications of liquidating. Like, I don't want to get my account shut down. Smart business owner, type of people I like to work with. I said, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and map out based on where his revenue was, based on where he was located at in the country and how long he had been in business. Let's map out a funding framework for you that we can still do some no doc stuff here and there, right? We'll have to flex some financials when needed, but we can still do some no doc stuff. But we're going to make sure that we get the right selection of products that you can actually use to move yourself in and out of deals. And so lo and behold, it unlocks this piece right here, which is where you want to live. This is how like the no doc stuff works. When your business profile, your owner profile, and the banks all coalesce and all come into this happy medium. If you're just moving off of this right here, like this is a no-go. If you're just moving in here, it's a no-go. If you're just moving in here, it's a no-go. For this to work, especially at scale. And by the way, like I don't just want you to stop at the no doc funding stuff, by the way. Like don't take this as the core message of the video. I wanted to show you, and the whole purpose of me making this is so that you can see the bigger picture, which is having all the elements dialed in so that you can eventually work your way into some bigger capital and continue to scale your business predictably and sustainably because you have a well-oiled machine that's continuing to grow with your business, which is a funding setup that we help our clients install into their businesses. By the way, if you need help with any of this at all, go ahead, book a call down below, insideinnercircle.com. It's pinned as the first comment. We'll take a look at where you're at, where your business is, where you're looking to go, and see if we can help you out. If we can, we'll let you know right there on the call. And if we can't, we'll at least leave you with some resources that'll leave you better off than how you came in.